Hey guys, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my channel. So this morning I have the next part of the Antique Craft series for you guys. So in this video we are going to be stitching all the pages together and adding some tabs and ruffles and just continuing to kind of embellish the journal. So for this first stitching, I wanted to try and show you guys like the way the pages are put together. So this is one of those tipped in pages, and it's just a regular coffee stained sheet of copy paper that I've tipped in like an antique French document onto the opposite side of where the page is free. So I've decided to add stitching to all of the tipped in pages just to add a little bit of added interest. And I'm continuing with the black thread that I used on the covers of these journals. So that way it just looks really cohesive through the journal, and the black just helps to break up some of the like kind of neutral tones. I have decided also to stitch this envelope pocket. I guess it's really like a paper bag that I've opened up to make a double pocket, like one pocket on each side. And then I collaged on the back side, and so that way yeah, it's just not the same kind of really busy pattern paper on both sides of the page. So I did decide to change my camera angle a little bit so you guys could watch me actually stitch things. This is the little half page pocket. So there's a pocket on both sides. If you want to see how to make this, it was in, I believe, part 2 of this journal series, and I've linked all the previous parts of this series, so if you're just joining me for this series, you can definitely go back and watch the whole thing from start to finish, with the links in the description box. Yeah, so I started on the wrong side stitching and had to like kind of fold this pocket up so that it would actually fit into my sewing machine. And I remember having this conversation with somebody recently, actually, that yes, everyone kind of folds their papers to fit them in the sewing machine, and that's perfectly normal. So if your page doesn't really fit, just kind of fold it gently without creasing it, and it should just go back to flat after. So yeah, I really like how that little half page pocket came out, and this tipped in, or this Kraft envelope is just a flap that I created just by adding a line of glue exactly where I'm stitching, actually. So I'm just adding the stitches to add a little bit of extra interest and moving on to stitch the tip in. I guess it adds a little extra security to where it's attached, because, you know, glue after time maybe will lose some of its stickiness and things can have a tendency to come apart. But if they're stitched together, like there's no chance that it'll come apart unless the threads rot, and then yeah, then there's no hope. But yeah, hopefully the stitching and the glue together will really hold everything together. So yeah, I am just going through the entire journal and just kind of stitching everything that I know needs to be stitched right off. And then we will continue to embellish and add some ruffles, and actually I use mostly lace, and I don't end up stitching them in this video, but I do glue everything down where I want them, and I think I'll actually go back and add some stitching in the next video. This tag and doily, I joined them together to kind of be like just an interesting little page, if you will, in the journal. And I had added some tape to the back side to hold everything in place on top of gluing it, and when I stitched over it, it just did not look that great. Obviously I'm gonna leave it because I don't really have another option, but I might go back and do a little collaging or add another piece of tape over the top. So in hindsight, I probably, if I had known that was going to happen, I probably would have waited to add the tape until after I did my stitching. But yeah, that's it just, yeah, I don't always know exactly what I'm doing while I'm doing it. But I mean, I feel like this is a learning process, and this is such a new kind of, I guess, style for me. Like, I've heard a lot of you guys say that this journal still feels like it's my style, but I still feel like it's just so far outside of what I normally make. Maybe it's just because it's lacking color and I'm so used to like working with color. But yeah, it is. It's really kind of outside my comfort zone. And that's okay. I feel like as an artist, we kind of have to challenge ourselves to do that every once in a while. So this page, I'm actually feeling really nervous about stitching it because these like Peterson's and Godey's magazine pages have a tendency to be really brittle. But I had added a strip of like encyclopedia page to it, so it ended up being just fine. Later in the video, you'll see me like struggling to figure out what I want to do with the outside edge on the journal or on the magazine page, but yeah, I decide to just kind of keep it for now. Just leave it the way it is. But yeah, so I hope you guys are all doing really well and enjoying this series. I am having a lot of fun. Even though it's outside my comfort zone, it is so much fun to just kind of do something new or different. And yeah, so yeah, this week I have been just so busy, you guys. Like, I mentioned in my last video that I am moving into like an antique mall, and yeah, so like the last week or so has been just so busy preparing things for like the move-in, and like normally you would have to be on a waiting list for like 3 years here. But I got lucky and found a space that I could move into starting on Friday, the 21st. And that left me with like 2 weeks of prep time. So I went from like expecting a 3-year wait to having literally 2 weeks to get ready. And so it's just been really, really busy. But yeah, okay, so I am adding a belly band to the inside cover of like the front inside cover. And I'm just using some French trim that I got from Sarah, Crafty Paper Bits. She's on my design team, and also she is literally one of my very most favorite shops to purchase from on Instagram for vintage trims and textiles, vintage French trims and textiles. So I've linked her below in the description box. And yeah, so definitely check her shop out. She also does design team projects for me using my digitals, and like, yeah, so she's definitely very talented and makes beautiful things. And then I've decided to use this vintage French postcard as another belly band, and this one I got from Sharika. And as I mentioned in my previous videos, that this journal that I'm making, actually all three journals that I'm making in this collection are kind of like an ongoing design team project for Sharika, Postal Love, because so many of my supplies came from her monthly subscription that she does through Patreon. So I've linked her profiles, her profiles on Instagram and also her Patreon account if you want to check her out. I definitely recommend subscribing to her Patreon because she curates a monthly package and just sends it to you, and it's fantastic. It's fabulous vintage paper things, and yeah, it's just a really nice surprise each month. Like, you don't get to pick what you get, which is kind of fun. Like, you just get this monthly inspiration pack and get to work with it and make something beautiful. Okay, so this vintage Spanish, I think it's Spanish, chocolatier receipt is actually a duplicate receipt. So it's on like a vellum paper. It's maybe more like a tissue paper. I don't know. It's very thin. It's kind of waxy. It's really, really, really fabulous. But I got these receipt papers from Sharika's subscription box as well. So yeah, like, there's just a very wide and varied selection of things that she sends us each month. Oh, and also that large tag that I used is part of her subscription. Yeah, it's just full of really great things. So, okay, so I am also at this point deciding, like, some of the pages are just a little short, and so I'm just going in and kind of pasting together pages, and like, I'm just polishing the journal as I go along and making sure it's you know, like, the finished product is going to be something that I like and that is, you know, wide enough to journal on, and yeah, just a really cohesive but also very eclectic piece, because eclectic is kind of my style, and I'm trying to stay true to that, even though it is a new kind of project for me. So yeah, I had this giant piece of, well, I say giant, it's big, piece of sari that I just loved, and I've like kept it for a little bit and thought maybe I want to use it as tabs or on a cover, but really it's just so beautiful, and I wanted to use it as kind of a tuck spot on this music book page. And then as I was gluing it, I realized that there are some like tiny little tears on the page edge of this music book paper. So I've just used a little bit of washi tape and a little bit of masking tape to kind of reinforce that. I had already reinforced the side that has the sari piece on it with some masking tape while I was constructing the pages of the journal. So that side is already reinforced. I just wanted to add a little bit more reinforcement on the opposite side, just to make sure everything's going to stay together. So yeah, now I am extending this page as well, and I'm just toying with a few different pieces, like auditioning them and seeing which one I like the most. I did cut quite a bit of this out, actually, because I was like digging in my box that's right next to me with all my supplies for the journal, and so yeah, there was like a lot of pause in between pulling the pages out. So yeah, in between like me pulling out supplies, there's usually some pause, and I've gone in and edited that part out. But yeah, I decided on this French check, and I just loved all the stamping, and on the opposite side from what you can see now, there was actually a stamp that kind of peeked through when that side is showing as well. So yeah, I am going to stamp a scrap of paper. Like, I found this stamp while I was digging, and I thought I would leave this part in because I wanted to try out the stamp. And so I'm going to use that with this envelope. And I had just like decided I'm going to tear the flap off of this envelope because it's really pretty and I want to use it somewhere else. And then when I decided to use it as kind of a, I don't know, it's like a flip out pocket now on this flip out that was already there. So yeah, I'm just using that to extend the flip out a bit and add a little pocket and an altered envelope at the same time. So yeah, I had cut it off or ripped it off, and then I decided, oh wait, I didn't want to do that, so I just glued it back on. But yeah, I think that it adds a little extra texture and interest anyway, so it's okay. If you ever do that, it's okay to make a mistake. Like, you can always fix it, and because we're using vintage things for the most part, extra tears or rips or marks just add some extra interest. So don't fret. It's okay if you make a mistake. You can always fix it later. So yeah, I just glued on a piece of lace, and I'm adding this envelope to the flip out, and then I'm going to use my little stamped piece that I just made. Yeah, I think it's so fun, and like, I'm just deciding where I want to put it, and yeah, so glue that on. It's just a little added extra texture and detail on this page, and yeah, that's that. And now I'm going to mess with the Godey's magazine page, and I'm realizing I glued the page with the sari together to the next page after it. But yeah, now I'm going to add a little piece of trim or lace to this Godey's magazine page. And I'm just auditioning a few different pieces. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use something so heavy on this page since it is quite fragile. And I did decide to just use a piece of lace, which was actually a ruffled trim lace. And all I do is just cut the part that's gathered off, and it becomes a flat piece of lace at that point. So that's just a little trick. If you do pick up some lace that has been ruffled or has like a binding on it to create a ruffle, you can just clip that part off and it becomes a flat piece of lace at that point. Plus, I kind of like the imperfect edge. I just like it. So again, kind of with the same concept of extra tears, like imperfect textiles, I think go wonderfully in a junk journal. So now I'm kind of going through and deciding, or auditioning this image of like an old church or chapel. And I know I want to use it in this journal, I'm just not sure where. So you'll see me auditioning this piece on a few different pages and just deciding where I want to place it. This journal, I wanted to keep it kind of minimal, like slightly religious, because I do enjoy religious ephemera, and yeah, I want that to kind of have a place in all my journals, because like I mentioned in a previous video, I do use this as kind of a meditation and like a prayer time, I guess, for those who purchase my journals. So anywho, I am just deciding where I want to place this chapel, and I come to this envelope, this Kraft envelope, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so plain, because it's not vintage, and so it doesn't have any aged marks or anything like that. So I'm just going to collage. I'm going to use this little ledger sheet, and a vintage photo and just kind of create a mini collage on this Kraft envelope flip out. So it's a pocket on the back side of it, and I do end up using these pieces that you're seeing right now. And so I'm just going to glue that ledger piece down and then add some photo corners to the little picture and add him on as well. A note about using Fabri-Tac or Fabri-Fix with a vintage photo. I don't glue directly on my vintage photos with Fabri-Tac or Fabri-Fix or any kind of acetone based glue, because it can cause damage to the photograph. So even just the fumes coming onto the image can create like a bubbling or like a distortion in the image. So really you should wait for the glue to be totally dry before adding the photo. I didn't in this case because I just thought the image itself was already kind of damaged and imperfect. So, but yeah, the acetone glues do dry extremely fast. And so the glue was already pretty much dry by the time I added that photo on. But I did just use some regular white glue to add that. And now I'm going back and re-gluing the little lace piece that I had added to the spine part of this page. I'm just gluing it on the other side. So that was the page with the vintage postcard belly band, and I wanted to create some extra interest on the spine end. Like, I feel like so often we add lace and trim to the outside edge of our pages, but the inside just kind of gets neglected a bit. And so I've really tried to kind of incorporate trims and laces to the inner edge as well. So yeah, I'm just using this vintage Italian trim and adding a tab to this page. Again, I'm gluing everything in this video. I think I will go back and add some stitches in the next part of this series. But for the sake of time on this video, I have just stopped with the gluing. And so yeah. I'm just going to do a flip through kind of quickly and go through a couple of times and just add some details here and there and just kind of fluff out the journal a bit. And yeah, it's a work in progress. I usually probably flip through my journals at least 24 times before they're finished. Now I want to audition a few pieces of textile on this antique hem page. I'm not sure if I want to add this lace collar or not. And yeah, I think I end up not adding anything to this page at this point. I feel like sometimes we audition things and we're never really happy, and so it's best to just move on instead of forcing something. So that's the way I kind of think about intuitive art in general. Like if it makes you happy and you like it in your initial judgment of it, just go ahead and do it. Like whatever the decision is, whether it's adding a piece of lace or a piece of paper, if you like how it feels initially, just go ahead and do it. But if you're not totally pleased right off, don't do anything. Just come back to it. So I do decide to just use this piece of lace, and that's kind of my go-to if I'm not liking any kind of special piece of textile, like a special trim or a collar or something like that. I usually just go for like a nice wide lace. And that just kind of adds some interest and keeps the whole textile theme going. So I'm just toying with the idea of like adding a smaller piece of trim on top and I decide not to at this point. I might still do it later. I don't know yet. So yeah, I'm just going to flip through and kind of continue to add some smaller lace details. This is like some eyelet lace, and I'm just adding a bit of it to this journal page with some glue again. Eyelet lace has a tendency to really curl, and so I could have trimmed the binding piece, the piece that's actually holding the ruffle together. Could have trimmed that off, but I like the way it looks, and so I just kind of leave it. When I'm getting to this point with my ruffles and trims and tabs and things, I usually close the journal quite a bit and look at it from like the outside looking in, and just make sure that it looks full, if that makes sense. Like, I want there to be kind of an even amount of trims and ruffles and things from the outside looking in. And also I use the journal pages to kind of gauge where my tabs should end, because I don't want them to stick out too far, but I also don't want them to go into the journal itself too far. So yeah, I'll kind of close the journal and just kind of gauge where I need to add the other binding point, I guess, for the tab. So I'm leaving this lace, I glued along the edge of the page, but I'm leaving it fairly loose, and so you can tuck something under the lace and it will stay put, almost like a lace tuck spot. But yeah, it, I think, adds the interest of a lace, but also the extra benefit of like having a tuck spot. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, so now I'm just kind of flipping through again and making sure I don't want to add any extra laces or trims or tabs or anything like that. And I think at this point I've decided that the journal pages are fairly completed. Again, I'll go back and kind of like stitch everything, but yeah, I think at this point I am done kind of embellishing with trims and laces and things. And I'm actually debating like just making an ephemera pack to go with this journal and not filling the pages up, because the journal itself is actually quite chunky. Like after I've added all the trims and added in pages and tip-ins and flip-outs and all the things, it's actually quite full. And so I'm debating like just making an ephemera pack to go with the journal and not adding the ephemera into the pages as I normally do. So let me know in the comments, like, do you have a preference? Do you prefer your journals to be quote unquote finished and filled up, or do you prefer to have an ephemera pack that comes with it? And that can include handmade pieces or just like ephemera that's not crafted yet. So either way, for this journal, I definitely will be crafting things and like recording my process just like I did on the last journal, but I'm not sure that I'll be actually adding them into the pages yet. Okay, so on the back cover, back to the journal, on the back cover, I've decided to add a corner tuck spot, and I'm going to use this vintage French tag and make a pocket tag like I did. I'll link the video. I made a tutorial on how to make these. Again, I'm showing it right now, but I'm just adding some textiles to the bottom, and yeah, I'm just going to add this vintage photo It's from like a tourist photo pack. And so I'm going to create kind of a pocket, again, using my white glue instead of the acetone-based glue so that I don't damage the photo. And yeah, so I'm going to glue those pieces down. And then I am going to end the video, like my voiceover here, because I feel like this is kind of the last step in the journal. So I hope you guys have really enjoyed this video. If you have, please do give me a thumbs up on this video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you know when I post a new video. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this video, or recording this video process for you guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I have. I'd love to see your creations. Please do tag me on Instagram. Yeah, I love seeing what you guys make. But if I do not comment, it's not because I don't want to. I do want to. I absolutely do want to see what you make and like encourage you in your creative journeys and however that looks. But I don't always get the notifications. Instagram caps notifications at 100 notifications at a time, and I'm noticing that that's happening like within an hour or two. So if I'm not constantly on Instagram, I don't see everyone's tags and comments. But if while you're posting an image, you hit the tag people button right under the image itself and where you add the text, if you tag me in the actual photo, I will see it because it will show up on my profile. So yeah, I love to share projects that other people are making, especially if like they've been inspired by me, or something that I've made. But again, I don't always see them if you just like type out my name in the body of the text because Instagram caps my notifications. Anyway, all that to say, please do tag me. Tag me in the actual image. I'm happy to see it. And yeah, so, okay, that's pretty much it. I'm just going to go through and audition a few ephemera pieces and like kind of start, but I don't get very far. So hopefully you guys enjoy watching that. And again, if you did enjoy the video, please do give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and have a great rest of your weekend. Until next time, happy crafting.